Target is ending its diversity goals. Target, the retailer, as a strong DEI opponent occupies the White House. So this is the Associated Press. Obviously, it's going to slant left. But I just think this is really interesting development. What it says is discount store chain Target said Friday it would join rival Walmart, a number of other prominent American brands, in scaling back DEI initiatives that have come under attack from conservative activists. And as of this week, the White House, the Minneapolis-based retailer, said the changes to its belonging at the bullseye strategy would include ending a program it established to help Black employees build meaningful careers, improve the experience of Black shoppers, and to promote Black-owned businesses following the police killing of George Floyd in 2020. You can read that article more if you want to. I've got the link in the show notes. But yeah, the way it set it up is it's a bunch of right-wing activists that are against this. I think it's anybody who has common sense. We have a good 65, 70 years of federal policy aimed at trying to skew how things are turning out with outcomes demographically with racial minorities, and it's not gone the way that they've promised it would. In demographic terms, 65 years, 70 years, it's a good period. You can learn a lot from that time. And one of the things that we should have learned by now is that top-down interventionist efforts don't work. So if there are people, and I'm sure there are people that really want Black people, Native Americans, Hispanics to stay poorer than white people and Asians, and they stay in their place. I'm sure those people exist. I don't think there are many of them. I think everybody wants all people who work hard to do well. That's the American dream, right? And that's not guaranteed. It's not a 100% thing. It happens all the time. But generally speaking, if you work hard, doesn't matter where you come from, you can get to where you need to go. IQ, Charles Murray has kind of established that IQ really matters a lot in that. Here's the thing. Top-down government policy poisons the well, and we've known this for a while. I think people who do it intentionally. I think they know it doesn't work, but it participates in this scheme that divides right from left, because people on the left are of the mind that the only way that you can accomplish anything approximating equal outcomes is to take from those who are benefiting and give to those who are not benefiting. But that instills a kind of infantilization of people who benefit from it, and a resentment of people who don't and who are actually harmed by it. It's not good for a cohering, unified country. Do we want to be unified as a country? Then that means that we have to end measures like this. It's been really strange. This is something Vivek Ramaswamy wrote about in Woke Inc., how strange it is that these huge multinational conglomerate bodies have been at the forefront of kind of this social re-engineering project where we're trying to, from the top down, make everything equitable. First off, that's not the job of private business. It's also not the job of government, by the way. But the fact that you got all these huge multi-billion-dollar companies on board with it is amazing. And now it's amazing that they are abandoning ship and they're turning around. So this article blamed it on the Trump administration rising to power. I'm of the mind that it's just common sense. They saw that the incentives aren't there. They weren't. I mean, it probably does have to do with who's in power at the top, where they can get their money and tax breaks from and stuff. But it also has to do with who is ascendant. Right now, everybody knows the same thing happened at the end of the 1960s. Everybody knew that far left policy didn't work and was making things worse. We've woken up for a moment. Question is how long we can hold on to that now. And whenever I use this left-right dichotomy, for those of you who haven't heard me give this shtick before, I'll give it in just 30 seconds. The left-right dualism focuses on legitimate differences, ideological differences. It's a predisposition towards inherited traditions. So on the left, religiously or politically, the left is much more willing to consider that people in the past were idiots who didn't know what they were doing. People on the right generally are predisposed to trust that people in the past were just like us, and generally what we've received is inherited wisdom that we should not abandon. So I have more room for people on the political left than I do on the religious left. I've said that in the religious sense, people on the left are, there is no such thing as liberal Christianity. That's an alternative faith. Within America, I think there is a room for the liberal tradition as long as it's more centrist than far left. But if we could all just aspire towards a meritocracy together, I think that'll be to everybody's benefit. And if we could stop infantilizing racial minorities, I mean, I'm not a racist. I don't think there's any difference between black people, white people, Native Americans. I think we all have the same capacity. So I think that we will all rise to together as we're held to equal standards. That's my prayer and my hope. Jared says Deuteronomy 25:13-17 through 17, which condemns having two weights for your scales, essentially condemns DEI as an abomination to the Lord. Ooh, I haven't heard that interpretation before. I like that very much. Well, whether or not I like it, that doesn't matter. But yeah, there's a condemnation, I remember, against those who use different weights and scales, and that's in the literal sense against in the marketplace whenever you're buying and selling stuff. If you have a certain price per unit, but then you're weighing that unit differently for different people, the reason you would do that is to cheat them out of money. But the Proverbs also speak about the importance of having one set of measures for everything. If we're to have a coherent way of going through life, an honorable way of going through life, we have to have one standard. And of course, ultimately for all of us, that one standard is Christ himself.